Following a couple of Tuesday night football games, NFL Week 15 is in the books, so we're on to NFL Week 16, which means the NFL playoffs right around the corner. So if you're ready for the big dance, it's going to be highly intriguing and fascinating because the NFL playoffs always are. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture. Welcome into NFL Daily by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. Coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at the NFC playoff picture, a couple of big games that transpired in NFL Week 15, and a couple of big matchups to look forward to in NFL Week 16. And of course, all of these games have massive NFC playoff implications. So let's first take a look at the NFC playoff picture, then we'll kind of go team by team and break it all down for you, because that's what we do here at Chat Sports. Right now, the number one seed in the NFC, all led by the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers as they continue to play excellent football. Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fell to the New Orleans Saints, they fall back to number 3, overtaking them in that number 2 spot, the Dallas Cowboys at 10-4 on the year. The Arizona Cardinals continue to struggle. They drop down to the number 4 seed, and the wild card playoff picture really looking interesting right now because the Rams really playing well after they kind of hit that sluggish stretch during the middle portion of the season. San Francisco has won 5 of 6 games. They are firmly entrenched in that 6th spot and moving up to 7, overtaking the Washington football team after the football team fell to the Philadelphia Eagles on Tuesday is the Minnesota Vikings at 7-7, able to get that big primetime win against the hapless Chicago Bears. Let's take a gander at the Green Bay Packers right now. Able to come through with the big win against the Baltimore Ravens, able to escape against Tyler Snoop Huntley. Harbaugh went for 2. It didn't work out for Baltimore. So, by the skin of their teeth, the Packers claim that one 31-30. They do have another tough game in Week 16 against the Cleveland Browns team that is desperate for a win. Coming off that Monday loss against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Green Bay Packers have already clinched the division. So right now what they're trying to do for the second consecutive year, get that number 1 seed in the NFC. And if the playoff path in the NFC has to go through the Packers at Lambeau, that is going to be a very tough environment to play in. Number 2 seed, the Dallas Cowboys. They move up, as I mentioned, because the Buccaneers got shut out. Tom Brady scoreless for the first time in 15 years, and that's why the Cowboys able to make some headway in the NFC playoff hunt. Get that win against the Giants, 21-6. The Giants awful, by the way. They take on another NFC East rivalry team in the Washington football team because the football team fell to the Eagles. They have a lot to play for, which makes this matchup in Week 16 a very big one for both teams. If the Cowboys are able to beat the football team, they are able to then clinch the NFC East. And can you imagine if in the NFC Championship game, we have the Packers and the Cowboys at Lambeau Field, we turn back the clocks, and yes, you might have PTSD if you're a Cowboys fan because we know what happened the last time these two teams met in the NFC Championship game. All these years later, we're trying to figure out if it was a catch for Dez Bryant. I think it was at the time, but that wasn't the rule at the time. I'm sorry, Cowboys fans. We had to do it to you. Hopefully, you've been able to overcome that. Let me ask you this question. This is also going to be the pinned comment. So I want you to chime in and sound off in the comment section down below because here at Chat Sports, we're all about the audience interaction. Let me know who will get the number 1 seed in the NFC. Will it be the Packers? Will it be the Cowboys? Maybe even the Bucs make a run. You let me know in the comment section right now. Number 3 seed in the NFC, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not only did they fall to the Saints 9-0 in a low-scoring, knock-em-out, drag-em-out type of matchup, but they suffered a lot of key injuries in this game, which could really impact them moving forward. Chris Godwin, torn ACL, out the rest of the season. He has been Tom Brady's number 1 threat at the wide receiver position. Mike Evans dealing with a soft tissue injury. So too is Leonard Fournette, who suffered that hamstring injury, and in the process, he is probably going to be lost for the rest of the regular season. I've always had concerns this year about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. But now we start to have concerns about their offense because they are shorthanded. Now, they do get some reinforcements this week. Antonio Brown expected to come back. He hasn't played since that early matchup earlier on this year against the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, he faked his vaccination card. There were some rumblings that he wasn't going to come back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All signs point to him returning to the Bucs this week. So while you lose Chris Godwin, you get back Antonio Brown. That's a good problem to have if you're Tom Brady, and the Buccaneers do take on the Carolina Panthers this upcoming weekend. If you want to bet on that game or bet on any of these games in the NFL Week 16 slate, we have you hooked up thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. And they are offering a 125% deposit bonus. So let's just say you put in $100 into your account using that link, chatsports.com/bet, and the promo code NFL Daily. You get a 125% deposit bonus back. So you put $100 in, you get an additional $125 back. That's $225 to game with and wager with. And how about this prop bet cooked up by producer Jeremy? So, of course, we expect the Buccaneers to win the NFC South. They are at minus 50,000 to win the division, but there is still a chance and a glimmer of hope for the New Orleans Saints to claim this division because they swept the Bucs this year with a win in New Orleans and a win this past weekend in Tampa Bay. Plus 5,000 odds, pretty good odds right there. Let's say that the Saints win it. You could get a lot of money if you put down some cheddar on this prop bet. Do so right now, chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code NFL Daily. The free-falling Arizona Cardinals next up on the docket. The body language from Kyler Murray hasn't been good. I think he came back a little bit too early off that ankle injury, and just like last year, the Arizona Cardinals running into a late season wall. They lose this past weekend to the hapless Detroit Lions. And I have to give credit to Dan Campbell because his teams have fought hard against some of the top teams across the National Football League. So while they only have 2 wins to show for, a win against the Arizona Cardinals at home was very impressive, especially considering the way that they did it, throttling Arizona 30-12. And now you're looking at an Arizona team that has dropped back-to-back games, and they have the tall task of going up against one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, headlined by an MVP player in Jonathan Taylor, who is leading the NFL in rushing yards. The Arizona Cardinals are on the verge of possibly losing the division title to the Los Angeles Rams, maybe the San Francisco 49ers, who we'll get to here in just a little while. Nobody could have predicted that a couple of weeks ago. Right now, it is certainly realistic. Make sure you subscribe to Chat Sports because we continue to kill the game here like nobody else is doing on the internet because we're dominating the competition right now. We have you covered with free daily videos covering the latest NFL news and rumors, college football news and rumors. We also cover the NBA as well. I'll be going live later today as we record this on Wednesday on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel on NBA Now. We do it all, and we do it better and differently than anybody else, and it's not bad to be different here in 2021. So make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel by hitting that red subscribe button down below, or in a separate browser, go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. We are approaching 273,000 subscribers. Los Angeles Rams. Really tough and gritty win on Tuesday Night Football against a very feisty Seattle Seahawks team. A Seahawks team that is going to finish the year below 500 for the first time in Russell Wilson's career. You talk about longevity and a lot of long-standing success. That's been the motto for the Seattle Seahawks, no longer this year, and maybe Russell Wilson will be on his way out. But let's focus on the Rams right now. 10-4, they beat the Seahawks 20-10. A really, really good matchup in Week 16 against the Minnesota Vikings team that is currently occupying that 7th and final spot in the NFC. And the Rams have won 3 consecutive games after losing 3 straight games. After that loss to the San Francisco 49ers on primetime several weeks ago, they changed things. They tinkered with that offense. They've also been playing better. Matthew Stafford playing good football, currently occupying that number 5 seed. Last 6 games for the Rams, they lost to the Titans. They went down to the Niners. they lost to the Green Bay Packers, and they lost by 8. It wasn't indicative because they got blown out in that game and absolutely dominated. But the last 3 games, they've been able to get it together. Against the Jaguars, they pummel them 37-7. Goodbye, Urban Meyer. Maybe he's at a bar right now. They take down the Arizona Cardinals 30-23, and then they're able to defeat the Seattle Seahawks 20-10. Now, they didn't look pretty in that game by any means, but when you're a playoff squad, you have to find a way to win in a variety of ways, and that's what the Rams have been able to do the last 3 consecutive weeks. So the NFC West, it really is going to come down to the final 3 weeks of the regular season, and the Niners and the Rams do play in Week 18. A lot of implications and a lot of factors with that game potentially depending on what those 2 teams have to play for. Who do you think wins this gauntlet of a division? Type ARI for the Cardinals, LAR for the Rams, SF for the San Francisco 49ers. Speaking of those 49ers, they have won 5 of their last 6. And you talk to a lot of people across the league, they are a dark horse team that none of the top echelon teams in the NFC want to play in the first round, because I think when the Niners play their best football, they can take down and upset a Green Bay Packers, a Dallas Cowboys, or a Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if they have to go on the road to take on either the Los Angeles Rams or the Arizona Cardinals, those are divisional opponents who the Niners do know very well. They straight up just dump trucked the Atlanta Falcons 31-13 in Week 15. Really good game on Thursday Night Football against a physical Titans team. Cross-country trip on a short week. It is never easy considering those circumstances. And the Niners right now with Kyle Shanahan in his play-calling bag, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, as I mentioned, they have won 5 of their last 6. Last playoff spot in the NFC, currently with the Minnesota Vikings. Even record at 7-7. On prime time, Kirk Cousins threw for less than 100 yards. Good news for the Vikings, they didn't need to put up a bunch of yards and points offensively because the Chicago Bears with Matt Nagy as head coach are a straight-up joke. 17-9 win for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, 12 of 24, 87 yards. The Bears got into the red zone 5 times, did not score a touchdown or put up any points for that matter on any of those red zone trips. It was pretty brutal for Chicago until they got that garbage touchdown in garbage time, which we don't really factor in. Either way, Vikings get a massive, massive win for their own playoff hopes, and they are right now in that final 7th playoff spot in the NFC. So when you kind of look at the big picture, bird's eye view right now with all these teams in the NFC, this is why the NFL rules. Look, that Bears-Vikings game was an awful game to watch, yet 16 million people still tuned in. And the last 3 weeks of the regular season, a bunch of playoff odds and implications at stake. Going to be absolutely thrilling and fascinating to see how it all plays out, and that's why the NFL rules the sports calendar 365 days a year, 366 during a leap year. Another opportunity for you to chime in and let your voices be heard here at Chat Sports. Shout out your favorite squad in the comments section, and hey, even if you're a fan of, let's say, the Houston Texans, show the Texans some love and chime in with your favorite team down below. Once again, take a look at the NFC playoff picture. Really, I want to focus on some of those other teams on the outside looking in. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the New Orleans Saints. Really on the bubble, but on the outer skirts of that bubble, it's the Washington football team and Atlanta Falcons. These bubble teams right now, let's take a look at them record by record. Eagles, they beat the Washington football team after that delay because of COVID issues with Washington in Philadelphia. And they have a pretty easy remaining schedule for the Eagles' sake because they don't have to take on upper echelon quarterbacks the next 2 weeks. So it looks like Jake Fromm is going to get the start for the New York Giants this upcoming weekend. Totally winnable game for Philadelphia. Washington again on the road in 2 weeks at FedEx Field. Philadelphia fans really able to overtake that stadium and make it a home environment. And here's something to monitor in Week 18. If the Cowboys have the division locked up, and let's say they have a playoff positioning locked up, they might decide to rest Dak Prescott, who has not been the same player since coming off that calf injury. So that could pave the way for the Eagles to get an easy win in Week 18. So at the end of the day, a very easy remaining schedule for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they, like the Niners, a team that opponents do not want to face because they are a physical, brute, run the football down your throat type of squad, and that type of style really translates to the playoffs. As for the New Orleans Saints, the Eagles beat them back a couple of weeks ago. So the Eagles do have the tiebreaker over New Orleans, and the Saints, look, they've dealt with a bunch of injury issues this year, COVID issues hitting this team hard in recent weeks as well. That's why Sean Payton could not coach the game against the Bucs last week, but Dennis Allen put forward a masterful defensive performance against the reigning Super Bowl champions. Remaining schedule: Miami Dolphins, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons. And as I mentioned earlier, there is an opportunity and a scenario in which New Orleans can still win the NFC South. Now, they're going to need a lot of help, but they swept the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's why they are still in a position with an even record at 500 of 7-7 to potentially claim the NFC South. I think the odds of that, as we talked about earlier, aren't great, but there still is an opportunity, so it is worth mentioning. As for the Washington football team, hopefully they can get Taylor Heinicke back. If they get him back, their chances of making the playoffs take a couple of steps higher. Because when you have to trot out Garrett Gilbert, who I thought was really, really tough on Tuesday night, you just can't really manufacture long drives and put up a bunch of points offensively. So, remaining schedule: tough game on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, of course, still has something to play for, trying to lock up that number 1 or 2 seeds. Best case scenario, Week 17 against Philly, Week 18 against a Giants team that is just really, really bad right now. So the on-the-bubble squads really have a lot to play for the last 3 weeks. And there are a bunch of scenarios in which the Eagles, Saints, Washington, or maybe even Atlanta, let's take a look at their schedule, can claim that 7th and final spot in the NFC because everything is so closely tied right now. With the way the 49ers are playing, I think they lock up that 5 or 6 seed in that wild card race. But let's be real. What the NFL did 2 years ago with adding another playoff spot really does make everything a lot more interesting in both the NFC and the AFC because it gives a lot of teams, especially these bubble squads, something to play for late in the year. And if they can vie for playoff spots, man, it just makes this just theater. And it's fantastic for us as NFL fans and fantastic for us here at Chat Sports. Last question before we dip on out of here during our NFC playoff picture show. Will any of the teams not currently in the top 7 make the playoffs? We're looking at Philadelphia Eagles, New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons, Washington football team. Those types of squads. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Subscribe to the channel. We're killing the game here at Chat Sports. A big reason for that, all of your support. So thanks for watching today's show, and happy football because, man, this is absolutely awesome.